Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and this is another video. I just realized I haven't changed my VTuber. Just ignore that. Okay. Um, we were doing the per se Attitude Era, which I think it's like 97 to 2020, not 2022 to 2002, at least what they're saying. Some of the most famous wrestlers, I guess famous is kind of whatever you perceive it, and we're gonna rate them here. Like most tier lists, we're gonna put them in to have like even numbers, so there'll be some people that might be a little bit lower, and I'm just gonna base them off of like me watching them and how much I like their character, not necessarily all their ring work and all that, because I guess when I was watching as a kid, none of that really mattered. The fighting was almost second nature to some of the actual just stories and stuff. I mean, not don't get me wrong, like some of the stuff the Hardys did and all that was absolutely insane and mind blowing, but like people that maybe are not traditionally the best wrestlers might get a little bit higher just because of their gimmick and stuff. But yeah, we'll just jump into it. Go from the top with Christian. See, out of all the tag teams that were really big, obviously you had the Hardys, you had the Dudley Boys, and you had Christian and Edge. I didn't like Christian and Edge at all during that time. Christian now with his like AEW run and like later runs, I liked a lot better. But back then, I absolutely hated Christian, and just for that, I'm gonna have to put it in D. And that's why this list is a little funkier, because I think Christian as a wrestler in general would be way higher up. But because if I'm just basing it off of how I liked him, especially during this era of time, I didn't like him at all. He had a great character. I just did not like him. Next up would be Chris Jericho. I was a big fan of Jericho back then. Obviously he would always have the submissions with the walls of Jericho. God, I don't know why I'm struggling today with words, but yeah, walls of Jericho. I like Jericho a lot. I'm gonna put him. I'm gonna put him in B for now and might move him because there's a lot of people here that I know I really, really, really like. So, that being said, I would have to make sure I have plenty of space towards the top. Next up is Hulk Hogan. I actually really don't remember Hulk Hogan during that time. So, if I'm just basing it off that 1997 to 2002, I honestly only remember him being a little bit there, and I don't remember enjoying anything that he did. Not saying that he's ever was bad. I don't really remember him much. That's why I'm gonna put him in the D. That one probably people are gonna be upset about. Obviously he's way worse as a human being, but during that time I just don't remember much in that Attitude Era of being like I liked Hulk Hogan during that time, because I don't really remember him during that time. Albert was another one. It was Tess and Albert, and I really didn't like that tag team. I don't remember as much with Albert because I do remember he eventually switched gimmicks to, can't remember what the name of that was, but I didn't enjoy that either. So I'm gonna put Albert in D. I know we're kind of towards the bottom here, but I didn't really like him as much. Then we got Chavo Guerrero. I think I always was more of an Eddie fan. I think that's how most people are, but I don't really think he was like bad. I just don't remember him. I know he had like a way worse gimmick later on, but I think as Chavo, I mean, I don't remember a lot of him because I think like I just don't. So I would have to put him in C for the time being. I definitely think he's a little bit above these guys because I remember some matches for sure, and I didn't think I was against him. I'm just not really for him. I guess that's kind of where the C goes. Next up is Edge. Again, Edge, especially in his later years, I really liked Edge. I liked him with Judgment Day. Liked him after the Judgment Day. Those were top things. Edge's career is amazing, but during this Attitude Era, I absolutely hated Edge. I think he was a little bit better than Christian, so I'll put him in C. But like if I was doing just a list on how well Edge is, he would be, just like if we did career based off of it, he would probably be an S tier. But just with how I personally liked him, I didn't like him at all. I did think I liked him better than Christian, but that wasn't by much. Booker T was a weird one because I don't really remember him being like he was definitely a heel and stuff, but I don't really remember him being like that bad or like that bad of a person. I do remember a lot of his promos with Goldust and stuff like that. And I generally enjoyed Booker T, the Spinneroonie and all that. It was pretty good. I'll put him in B. I think that's kind of about mid range. I don't think I really had a thing that I hated him or did liked him. Like it definitely was my favorite or anything, but I don't think I would have rooted against him, especially if there was any of these people that he was facing against. The Big Show, I didn't like the Big Show because he was like always that monster heel that like everybody had to take out, and like big giants are kind of like that, and that's like the only concept I've never really liked many big giants like that. There's like some exceptions, and I know there's probably one coming up very soon that is the exception of like that monster that just crushed people, but I never really liked that because it was just like it never made sense when they lost, you know? So I think the Big Show I'm gonna put in C. Yeah, it definitely wasn't the worst, but I really didn't like the Big Show. Eddie during that time, I absolutely loved. I'm gonna have to put him in S tier. Um, Lied Cheese, I mean, all of that was great. His matches were amazing back then. Like, um, definitely when I think of Attitude Era, he's definitely one of those people I think of. Next up is Kane. Kane's one of my personal favorites altogether. I just like his whole gimmick and all that, especially this Kane with the mask and like the unstoppable monster. It's gonna be another S tier for me with him. It's just he was too great. I mean, I really liked it. Like everything about him, and especially with him and Undertaker either being against each other or with each other, just all of the storylines there I loved. Next up is Goldust. Goldust was like odd, but like he was definitely like comedic all the time. I'm gonna have to put him in A. You know, like I don't feel like um he was the. I mean, I feel like Dustin Rhodes is a good wrestler, but I don't feel like Goldust really had much to do with a lot of wrestling. But it was just all the side stuff he was doing, kind of like similar to like R-Truth is now. Like his segments were what you remember him more by than anything else. Bubba Ray Dudley, I absolutely loved the Dudley boys, and they're probably still one of my favorite tag teams of all time, and I love both of them. I would assume I'm trying to think like if I think of tag team wise, would I put all of the like that's gonna be a lot for the like S tier. I'm gonna put them in S tier for now. Just it was enjoyable. The Dudley boys were just so enjoyable. Brock Lesnar. To this day, I still don't like Brock Lesnar. Nothing against him personally. I mean, there's outside stuff, but I've never been a fan of Brock Lesnar. That's why he's in the D. I just didn't like him. He's phenomenal at what he does because he is so unlikable, but I just never liked him. Kurt Angle's kind of similar, but like at least like he had like the comedic stuff, so he kept going back and forth of being like that. But I never rooted for Kurt Angle, but like enough that like I would be like he is so like endranged into like the "You Suck" chants with his theme song and all that. So for that, I'm gonna have to put him in B. It's like middle of the road right there because it's like I didn't like him at all, but like it was still enjoyable to see him and all that. Lita was like probably one of my first crushes of all times, other than Trish Stratus, which whoever made this list does not have on here. That would automatically be S tier. I'm gonna have to put Lita in A just because I was a little bit more of a like as a kid. It was all Trish Stratus, and then like Lita was like up there, but I was like Trish first. But then as an adult, I'm like I should have definitely Lita would have definitely been it. Mark Henry was another one that was like he was just like that beast, and I didn't really like him for that. I don't know. I guess I always kind of prefer as a kid as I like the baby faces. So like anybody who was a heel, I didn't quite dig with. Um, but Mark Henry still had some pretty good storylines and stuff. So I'll put him in C. I don't think he should definitely go on the bottom, and I don't want to stack too many people on the bottom because the sad part is like even this D tier, they're pretty just solid wrestlers. They're just not who I enjoyed. Matt Hardy. I definitely like Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. I'm gonna put him in A because I definitely feel like I like the Dudley Boys over the Hardys, but the Hardys were just amazing. Um, it was like neck and neck, but like I had a friend that liked the Hardy brothers, and we always went back and forth with that. But it was just I have to put it in A tier because it was just they were amazing. But I want to just give the little edge to the Dudley Boys, and I don't want to put them on the same tier because of that. Maven, I didn't enjoy Maven as a wrestler. I do like his YouTube. I watch his YouTube a lot right now, but I didn't enjoy him as a wrestler. I'm gonna have to put him in D. Never was my cup of tea. Jeff will put next to Matt. I feel like if I had to pick between the two of them, I think I always as a kid liked Matt Hardy, but then like later seeing like stuff played back, I think I ended up liking Jeff more. Chris Benoit, I mean, I always liked Chris Benoit when he was a wrestler and all that. Altogether, I probably still say he's A tier. I mean, outside of wrestling, it's a completely different judge, but this is just as a kid. was 97. I was 5, so it was a little bit past that. I think I started watching wrestling when I was like 6 or 7, and then to 2002. Like, so I was a child, so my likes and dislikes in wrestling, especially, were a lot different. The hurricane was enjoyable to come down, but I really didn't like or dislike him, so I'll just put him in the middle of the road B. It's kind of weird to see like Hurricane with these like legends, but I mean, he's a legend in his own right. Shawn Michaels was amazing because he was like my friend. Absolutely loved HBK, and so like it was always one of those things that I like grew to like him just because my friend liked him, because we used to watch wrestling as a kids all the time. Put him in S tier. A phenomenal wrestler, but even as a kid, I was just like, yeah, I really like him. Ric Flair was actually what I really didn't like as a kid. I don't know, he just gave me bad vibes, and yeah, that's probably kind of valid to who he is as a person outside of the ring. But I didn't like him. Tess was another one. I feel like he was. I very rarely saw him as a wrestler. Like, I think I might have saw him a little bit towards that time, but I think he was an announcer by the time I really knew who Taz was. Why am I saying Tess? I was reading the I was reading down here with Taz. Taz. I'm gonna have to put Taz and see. I think if I go over the announcing part, he definitely has a couple points of it up higher than when he was a wrestler, because I don't remember seeing him much wrestling. Sky Too Hottie, I really loved as a kid. I probably put him in A tier. It's just he was so great with Rikishi and all that. It's another person. Oh no, I was going to say missing from the list, but Rikishi's right here. I'm gonna put Rikishi next to him too. I think they were both A tier. The gimmicks of them dancing and all that was really good. Sometimes it's like I know exactly, I can remember certain times of watching it. So like those people that also have like better brain memories, even if it's good or bad. Randy Orton at the time, I didn't like Randy Orton. I liked a lot of the stuff like when DX was messing with him, which I think was later on. Um, but I just didn't really like Randy Orton. But like he was like there, he like it's like I didn't personally like him, but I liked his character of like when he got messed with and like a lot of the stories. But he wasn't like the legend killer at that time. He was just kind of like in there. I don't think that was when Legacy was around with Cody Rhodes and DiBiase. I could be wrong on that. Raven was like amazing with all the hardcore matches and stuff. He was always one of my favorites because of the hardcore matches. I put him in A tier because I don't know if I really liked him or if I just like hardcore matches, and he was just always in those matches because those matches are really cool. Devon obviously has to go up S tier next to his brother, quote unquote. Next up is Rhino. I absolutely hated Rhino growing up. I don't know why. Anytime I ever thought about wrestling and stuff, he was like always the person that I would go against in like a fantasy booking just to beat the living crap out of. I don't know why, but I never liked Rhino. I think he seems like a pretty genuine guy and nice, but I just didn't like Rhino at all. Next up is the Undertaker. Undertaker was absolutely amazing. This shows us the American Badass. I do remember him somewhat being that as being like the first time meeting him before I met him as a dead man. I could be wrong on that because it's like I really want to remember when exactly I started wrestling. So I want to say it's like I was like 8, so that would have been 90. If I was 8, that would have been 2000. It's like I know when I watched wrestling a lot as a kid, and so maybe around that time. Next up is Tajiri. I loved his green mist. It was a pretty good gimmick. I don't ever really remember seeing him ever win much. He just kind of got the mist, and like it was in some type of comical way with William Regal. I'll put him up to B because I do always remember Tajiri. Like if I just remember even his look and a lot of his outfits and stuff. I enjoyed his matches. Next up is Rob Van Dam. I loved Rob Van Dam as a kid. He just his high flyingness and all that. It was definitely like serotonin to see him go up to the top. He's got to be S tier for me. Next up is Spike. I honestly did not like when they added Spike to the Dudleys. I just really didn't like him. I mean, he just done some amazing bumps and done a lot of crazy stuff, but I just never liked Spike. Stacy Keebler, I like honestly out of all the like divas back then, I really didn't like her that much. She kind of just seemed like I don't even know. Like she just seemed like kind of out of place with some of the other ones because like some of them were doing some pretty crazy stuff. Lita and Trish would have matches, and it just seemed like Stacey Keebler would go out there and not obviously they didn't let her do much. I'm gonna put her in C. I don't think it's that she wasn't like the worst, but I don't think anywhere near the top on anywhere else. Which is like weird. You see Stacy Keebler above Hulk Hogan. Again, this is just as a kid. I know people are gonna flame me and roast me for some of my picks, but um, it's hard, when you think about it, as if you just go to kid. And then next up is Stone Cold. Stone Cold probably was my favorite wrestler growing up. Definitely S tier. Uh, it's just that plain and simple. I mean, it was just Stone Cold and The Rock going back and forth. That's everything I cared about as a kid. So yeah, Stone Cold's up at the top. Vince McMahon, I definitely think as a person outside he would be the worst, but I think he was just one of those characters that were there. Like he was definitely bad, but like I didn't really care too much about him. But yeah, as a person, he should definitely be in whatever horses than D. Regal was another one. He was kind of like he had a lot of comedy to like his stuff, but I never really liked him. I always rooted for him to lose, especially against like Law of Resistance, which they weren't on this list. Again, like that might have been later on. I don't know for sure. Next up is Tess. Tess and Albert again weren't the greatest type tag team. I'm gonna put Tess down there. I'm gonna move Christian up. And then for B tier out of these guys, I'm gonna put Show up a little bit. I mean, I didn't like him that much, but it's still pretty crazy. I'm gonna have to move some of these around because I got some top guys coming. The Rock, S tier. Love The Rock, and I love Triple H. Both of those were like some of my favorite wrestlers. So if that's the case, I'm gonna have to move somebody out of the top. I'm gonna probably I'm gonna probably go with Shawn Michaels because I think it was just like my friend liked Shawn Michaels so much, and that made me want like just like him a lot. And if I gotta move one person down from here, I'm gonna probably bring down Goldust. Okay, yeah, I feel more confident with it. That is my Attitude Era ranking, obviously just based off of what I liked as a kid. So yeah, roast my little kid brain and likes and stuff, and leave some comments and like the video. Bye guys.